Tennessee debuts at number 12 in the AP poll yesterday. Too high, too low, just about right. And plus, plenty of your reaction to my bowl predictions on Tennessee football this season. We're going to read a whole lot of those, plus getting your mailbag questions. That's and a whole lot more. It is your Tuesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is your team every single day. Shout out every dayers. Thanks so much for being here. Couldn't do it without you. Talking Tennessee football, 30 minutes or less every single weekday morning right here on Locked On Vols. Kind of went over in the cold open. We got a fun show coming up. Tennessee number 12. We'll discuss that here in a couple of seconds. Reading your comments to my bowl predictions, I love it, guys. And a lot of you guys threw in your bowl predictions. We're going to read some of those. And, of course, answering your mailbag questions. All that and more here on a Tuesday. And let's go ahead and get right into it. Tennessee number 12 in the AP poll. I'm your host, Eric Cainer, by the way. I didn't do that at the top. You everydayers know that, though. Tennessee, one of 6 teams ranked from the Southeastern Conference. Tennessee joins Georgia, who was ranked at number 1 and who received 60 first-place votes. About had a big old tongue twister there. Alabama's number 4. LSU's number 5. Tennessee, of course, is number 12. Ole Miss comes in at number 22, and Texas A&M comes in at number 23. If you remember, A&M was ranked 25th in the coaches poll last week. Ole Miss was right around 22nd. Tennessee was 10th. Of course, Georgia was number 1. Alabama was number 4, I believe, maybe number 3, and LSU was number 5. So not a whole lot of changes in regards to the SEC teams from one poll to the next, but Tennessee does fall from number 10 last week in the coaches poll to number 12. Both of those rankings are really good. It kind of speaks to where Tennessee is under Josh Heupel, in my opinion. But one of 6 teams from the SEC that are ranked in the AP poll. Tennessee, this is the 43rd time the Vols opened the regular season ranked inside the AP poll. Tennessee has now been ranked in 16 consecutive AP polls dating back to September the 6th of this past year in 2022. So Tennessee making a habit staying inside the AP top 25 as it debuts at number 12 for the 2023 season. This is the highest opening AP poll ranking for Tennessee. You got to go all the way back. Well, actually, I read that wrong. I thought it was 06. It's actually 2016, so you don't have to go too far back, but the Volunteers debuted at number 9 back in 2016, so this is the highest opening ranking in the AP poll since 2016, where the Volunteers were tabbed at number 9. And in terms of the opponents that Tennessee will face in 2023, the Volunteers will face 3 who are ranked inside the top 25. Georgia at 1, Alabama at 4, and Texas A&M at number 23. So, you look at this AP poll. Again, I don't have huge issues with it. I really don't. Tennessee at number 12, I have no issues with it. Tennessee at number 10, I had no issues with it. I think number 12 is around more of what I expected. I thought Tennessee would be anywhere from 12 to 15. So, number 12's, kind of right on right there. Georgia at 1. You've got to figure out the quarterback, of course, with Carson Peck, but it's got a whole, cast of characters looking for a three-peat, but I don't know if that's going to happen this year. Michigan at number 2 is pretty solid. I mean, it really is. Michigan, in my opinion, is one of the few in the top 5 or 6 that have the fewest questions, if you will. I mean, it's set at quarterback. It returns an awful lot. I think Michigan's pretty solid. Ohio State's there at number 3. We know that they have some quarterback questions, but they have a good team. Alabama's at 4. Might be the best roster in college football, but obviously big-time question mark in terms of who's going to lead that offense. Is it Ty Simpson? Is it Jalen Milroe? Is it Tyler Buckner? New offensive coordinator Tommy Rees from Notre Dame. We'll have to see how that goes. LSU's at number 5. Southern Cal's at 6. I would flip-flop those. Penn State ranked at number 7 in both the coaches poll and the AP poll. Florida State at 8, one of the darlings of the offseason. Clemson's at number 9. Clemson was at number 9 in the coaches poll as well. I know a lot of Tennessee fans would be kind of upset because you think the last time these two teams took the field, it was Tennessee wiping the floor with Clemson, and I understand that, but more and more goes into rankings than just one game. And if you're a Tennessee fan, I don't think you should be feeling disrespected or slighted with the 12th ranking in the AP poll, the debut of the 2023 season. That's just my opinion. Washington is at number 10. Of course, it's got really good quarterback play. Texas. Is Texas back? We'll find out. Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns ranked at number 11, right in front of Tennessee at number 12. The rest of the AP poll looks like this. Notre Dame at 13. You've got Utah at 14, Oregon at 15, K-State at 16, TCU at 17. I still think TCU is a little overranked. Oregon State at 18, Wisconsin at 19, Oklahoma at 20, UNC at 21, Ole Miss at 22, A&M at 23, Tulane at 24, and Iowa at number 25. I mean, we're at the point in the offseason, we're at the point as we move closer and closer to kickoff that, you know, we've seen these rankings, right? I mean, every publication's come out with a top 25 over the summer. Last week, we had the coaches poll that was debuted. We debuted our Locked On poll. Today, we're seeing the AP poll that was debuted on yesterday. So, you know, a lot of these same teams, you know, are ranked kind of where they are in all these different polls in the top 25. So we won't know anything official until they get out there and play on the field. I do want to mention one other thing. I mentioned the teams in the SEC that were ranked inside the top 25. Georgia at 1, Alabama at 4, LSU at 5, Tennessee at 12, Ole Miss at 22nd, and Texas A&M at 23rd. Some teams that were receiving votes. South Carolina received the second most votes of teams ranked outside the AP top 25. They received 78 votes, so South Carolina's right on the brink. UTSA, Tennessee's Week 4 opponents, and that's a big-time matchup. It was ranked just outside of the AP top 25. It was the third team in the receiving votes category. It received the third most votes of teams not ranked inside the AP top 25. So obviously, UTA is a pretty good ball club, and that's going to be a big-time game. But I still think Tennessee is going to, handle that one the way it should. And then there's a significant drop-off in terms of receiving votes. Like these teams that I mentioned up here, South Carolina, UTSA, and there was one other one. I don't have it in front of me, but there's one other one that was actually in front of South Carolina. They received a lot of votes, like up in the 70s or 80s, but just missing out on the poll. There's a significant drop-off, and then some other teams around the SEC that at least got some votes to be in the top 25. Arkansas, Kentucky, Auburn, who's not going to be good this year, Mississippi State, who's not going to be good this year, in my opinion, though it does have a quarterback, new system, and Florida. Of all those teams I mentioned, I could be the biggest liar. I could be made out to be the biggest liar here. I just don't think Florida is going to be very good at all this year. The fact that they received any votes is comical at this point in time, in my opinion. That is not to say that the matchup at the Swamp in Week 4 or Week 3 is not going to be challenging for Tennessee, because it absolutely is. We know it here on Locked On Vols every day, or as you guys hear me say it all the time, it is the tempo setter. It is what the Pittsburgh game was last year for Tennessee. You go on the road, win in a hostile environment, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to get a win, and that's what Tennessee was at Pittsburgh last year. But now it's a rivalry game, and it's a place where it's a house of horrors, and you haven't won since 2003. And so, for Tennessee, the house of horrors, if you will, it's a real thing. And so we'll see if it can kind of ride the ship and pick up a W down in the Gainesville, down in the Swamp this year. So that's Tennessee in the AP Top 25. Number 12, I think it's completely fair. I think it's fine. And if I'm a Tennessee fan, I wouldn't have a whole lot to argue with. I'll be intrigued to see, if Tennessee wins its first couple of games, and obviously the big game down in the Swamp in Florida, how quickly it will take Tennessee to jump inside the top 10. We will find out. But Tennessee is in good position to start the 2023 season, debuting at number 12 in the Associated Press poll. All right, when we come back, I'm going to read your reactions to my bold predictions on yesterday's show. Some of them are good, and some of them are very fair, and some of you guys even put out your bold predictions. We're going to get into that here in segment number 2. But hey, I want to tell you about our friends, a new proud sponsor of the show. That is Neutrophone. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health if you're a man right now. And it's one of those things that we don't often like talking about the older we get. Neutrophone provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. Men thinking losing their hair is inevitable, right? But take control of your hair's future with Nutrafol's science-backed hair growth supplement for men. Nutrafol was #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free patent technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health as well. And it works too. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Neutrophone men's hair growth supplements. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Neutrophone is offering our listeners $10 off the first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Neutrophone.com/men and when you enter the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Neutrophone for healthier hair. Neutrophone.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men. Enter that promo code LOCKEDONCollege. One more time. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, guys, welcome back into your Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. Really appreciate you guys for being here. Had a fun show yesterday going over some bowl predictions, and a lot of you guys gave me yours and some reaction to mine, and I want to get in here and read these aloud because I really enjoy the camaraderie, the give and take, the dialogue, the ongoing dialogue. That's what I want Locked On Vols to be every single episode, and I want you guys to be able to reach out to me and feel like you're heard and feel like your voice is heard because hey, we're all just football fans, and we're all watching Tennessee every single Saturday, so we're all kind of in this together. First and foremost, I do want to make it clear, and so many of you guys pointed this out to me, and I hear you, and it's a completely fair statement, criticism, however you want to phrase it, the way you guys put it towards me. 10 wins, a lot of you guys say, is not a bold prediction. And I hear you. Why? Because as many of you guys pointed out, the total per our friends over at FanDuel, it's 9.5. Vegas got it at 9.5. So 10 wins can essentially just be hitting the over. That can be the expectation. And a bold prediction, a lot of you guys would say, would be 12 wins or 15 wins, right? And so I hear you. I guess where I was going with that is just like, Tennessee's first double-digit win season prior to last year, or Tennessee's last year, let me phrase it this way. Last year was Tennessee's first double-digit win season since 2007. So meaning Tennessee hasn't won double-digit games, outside of last year since 2007. So it's been few and far between. I guess that's more or less where I was coming from because it's just one of those things that just hasn't happened a lot of the time. But you're completely right. Vegas has got it at 9.5. You hit that over, it's 10 wins, so it's really not that bold of a take, and certainly there's a path there, and I think this roster can do it. Let's get in and hear what you guys have to say. Ty says, bold predictions. Number 1, Tennessee will rush for 3 touchdowns against Georgia. That'd be big. Tennessee will improve, meaning reduce their passing yards allowed per game by 50-plus yards. That'd be big as well. I think both of those, obviously against Georgia, that gets you off and running, no pun intended. And if you improve by 50 yards at least in the secondary, that'll move you up in terms of pass defense in the country. Appreciate that, Ty. We'll go to Donald. Donald says, my prediction's 11-1. We lose to Alabama, then beat them in the SEC Conference Championship game. I like that. Joe's 3 years with Josh will finally pay off. Offense will be top 5. Defense will be top 25. That'd be huge for the defense. Joe will be invited to New York City. We will win the second year in a row the Biletnikoff Award, and it's going to be Dante Thornton, but Brew will be the leader. Squirrel will be great too. Next year is Squirrel's year. That's a lot of bold predictions there, and if that happens, Donald, I'm with you, man. That'd be a heck of a year. Let's go to J-Mac. Say this was a great show. Love the boldness. Appreciate that. Here's his bold predictions in reverse order. Number 5, Tennessee will be a top 3 in the SEC in team sacks without the help of Byron Young. Tennessee finished number 5 last year. I think there's more bodies and more ability in the room this year, but you got to put it together. Number 4, Tennessee will finish be a top 3 team in interceptions. Tennessee was at number 7. This is meaning in the SEC. We'll see. Guys got to go up and get the football, obviously. Tennessee will repeat as the number 1 offense in the SEC and will finish top 3 nationally. That'd be big, right? I think Tennessee will be top 10 no matter what, just based on Josh Heupel and what we've seen so far of him being a head coach and play caller in this league. But number 1 will be difficult, and that'd be huge, replacing a quarterback and number 10 overall pick at offensive tackle and, of course, 2 talented wide receivers. Tennessee will lead the SEC in total rushing yards. Tennessee was number 5 last year. That'd be big. Tennessee will go 12-0, play in the SEC championship game for the first time in 16 years, will make their first ever college football playoff appearance. Heck yeah, those are bold. He said, at the bottom, he said, if all this is not bold, then I don't know what bold is. I couldn't agree more. That's a point of a bold take. Let's go to the Bolin family. My bold prediction, Ramel Keaton will lead Tennessee in receptions. That's a really good one because, again, he's a starter. He's improved so much, and all the preseason talk. There's been a lot of Ramel Keaton talk. Don't get me wrong. I've wrote a couple stories on him, and people continue to praise him. But when you talk about the wide receivers, it is always Brew McCoy. It's Dante Thornton, Will Squirrel White. Ramel Keaton very easily could lead Tennessee in reception, so I think that's a really, really good one. We'll go to user-RNT2BU4YC6P. There we go. It's not my burner either. Tennessee will beat Alabama or Georgia to win 11 games. That's a bold prediction for sure, right? Because Tennessee's favored to win all but 2 games this year. If Tennessee wins one of Alabama or Georgia, that gets you to 11 wins. That's kind of how that works. So yeah, that is very bold. Obviously, Georgia, best team in the country, coming to Neyland Stadium late in the year. What's these two teams look like? And Tennessee going on the road to Tuscaloosa after beating Alabama at home last year. That is bold for sure. Let's go to John W. My bold predictions for Tennessee to win 11 games. Milton throw for 35 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. Keaton has a breakout year. Tennessee has 2 1,000-yard receivers, Keaton and Squirrel. Wow, Thornton and McCoy have over 700 each. The defense gets better, only allows 18 points per game. Tennessee's offense averages 46 points per game. John, love it. That's what we call bold as well. 2 1,000-yard receivers, and the other 2 in the starting lineup, over 700 yards, on the season. Goodness gracious. 35 touchdowns and 4,000 yards would be just a balling year for Joe Milton. Those are pretty lofty. Again, those are all caps bold, as John puts out there, and I couldn't agree more. Let's go to Roba 22. Bold prediction, the defense will be extremely improved and be in the top 3 in the SEC in all defensive categories. Again, that'd be huge. I think the defense is going to take a massive step this year. Will it get up to that? I don't know. Tennessee was really good in certain spots last year, of course, against the run. Tennessee improved on third downs, takeaways, all that type of stuff. Can it be in top 3 in all the categories? We'll see, but I think it will be improved for sure. Let's go to Trident. I think Slaughter will lead the team in INTs. He is the most physical cornerback out there. He's got the ability to get interceptions. Of course, we saw that at Kentucky last year. I don't know. I don't feel like Slaughter will lead the team in interceptions, but he very well could. I just think he's a baller. He's my favorite defensive back by far. All right, Matthew says Tennessee will not lose a home game this season. That's a good one. Of course, big-time home games, Georgia at the end of the season, but you've got South Carolina at home. You've got Texas A&M at home. And then, of course, that big-time Georgia game towards the end of the year. That's a really good one. We'll see, obviously. The biggest caveat in there is, can you beat Georgia? And then last one here from YouTube, we'll go to Travis. Bold prediction, Tennessee will win it all. I said it first. Hey, that's the name of the game in a bold prediction. We'll go over to the DMs real quick. Got a couple of guys who DM some bold predictions for me. James says, bold prediction, Joe Milton is either a top 10 pick or Nico is the starter by the end of the season. There's no in between. I mean, that's pretty solid, right? Like, Joe, can you be a middle-of-the-road quarterback? You don't want to be a middle-of-the-road quarterback. You want to be great. I hear you. But it feels like for Joe Milton, it's boom or bust. It's you're going to be great, reach your potential, showcase that arm strength, all that type of stuff, or it's going to be a lot of the same issues: accuracy, indecisiveness, too many 3-and-outs. That's a really, really good one. I like that one from James. That is a bold prediction. And then finally, we will wrap up with the DMs and the reaction to my bold predictions with Vol in Archie. And he says, bold prediction, Tennessee beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I think it can definitely happen. I think it can. Of course, beating them in Tuscaloosa will be tougher than beating them at Neyland Stadium. I think everybody knows that. Biggest thing for me is, where are they at quarterback at that point in time? Where are they at quarterback? Is it Ty Simpson? Is it Jalen Milroe? Everything else about Alabama is going to be pretty solid, in my opinion, but could a quarterback anchor them to their potential, anchor them down, and not allow them to reach their potential? We'll see. Appreciate you guys for sending me your bowl predictions, for reacting to mine. That's a whole lot of fun. We're going to get into your mailbag questions coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. One more segment left here on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Cainer. Appreciate you guys for being with us here today. Subscribing to Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. You guys got it past 8,000 over the weekend. Can't thank you enough. Seriously, that makes the show that much better. It gets it in front of more and more Tennessee fans on YouTube and continues to grow the show. So thank you so much, you everydayers, for making that happen. The goal was opening day, but we got to it this past weekend, all because of you. I want to get into mailbag questions. We do it every single Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols. You everydayers know all about it. We'll start with Robo22. His question: because of what we have coming back from last season and what we could potentially lose at the end of this season, give us your opinion on strongest position room on both offense and defense, as well as weakest rooms on both sides for this year and going into next year. Okay, this is a pretty good one. So we'll start with this year in 2023. I think going into this year, the strongest position group on offense would be wide receivers. And I continue to say it. It's crazy to say that. You're losing the Blitnikoff Award winner, and you're losing a third-round pick in Cedric Tillman, who was a 1,000-yard receiver in 2021. But I just love the options. I like the depth. You have 4 starters for 3 spots. Excuse me. And those younger guys, Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod, they're really coming along as well. I would say wide receivers. Strongest position group on defense, I would say the defensive line. You just have a whole lot of bodies that you will play. You have a whole lot of talent. I think you're getting good things out of Elijah Simmons and Tyler Barron right now. Omar Norman-Lott is adding a lot, no pun intended, is adding a lot as well. It's just all about that Leo position. Can you get after the quarterback? We'll find out. 2023 weakest position on offense, I think right now would be the offensive line, and that does not mean panic or the offense is going to suck. It just means they've got some questions to figure out. We talked about it on yesterday's show. They got to figure some things out. And so I would say offensive line right now. And the weakest on defense, I would say safety. I think cornerback's going to be better. I do. And I like the options there. I like the options at Star, and Tamarian McDonald was one of Tennessee's best defenders last year. I like Wesley Walker at safety. Jalen McCullough is an experienced guy, but I think if you had to, narrow down what position specifically was the weakest, I would say kind of right now probably safety, because I already mentioned the defensive line. I love the linebacker room, and I'd probably say the safety. We'll have to see if there's some better options there. Looking into 2024, or if some guys, kind of figure it out and take a step. 2024, as of right now, it's kind of an impossible thing to predict, but just basing off the roster right now, the strongest position going into 2024, I think, on offense would be running back, because I don't know about wide receiver. I don't know about the offensive line. Quarterback, where's Nico at? You're losing 2 tight ends. I think running back, you have the potential to bring everybody back. Now, will Jalen Wright and Jabari Small return? I don't know, but you'll have Cam Seldon. You'll have Dylan Sampson. I would say running back, strongest entering 2024. On defense, I would say linebacker, because you could lose a lot on defensive line potentially. Secondary, who comes back? Where are they in their progression? At linebacker, you're going to have Arian Carter, Jeremiah T-Lander, Elijah Herring. I mean, you're going to have a good starting basis with 3 guys, so I'm intrigued about that linebacker room. 2024 offense, the weakest, I would say offensive line, because, again, I don't know who's there. Gerald Mincy, J.J. Crawford, are you on the team? John Campbell, are you off to the NFL? Cooper Mays, do you return? I have no clue what that offensive line could look like in 2024. So I'll say offensive line again would be the weakest. And in 2024 entering the weakest position on defense, I would say the defensive line, and this is just because you could lose a lot of guys. Roman Harrison, Tyler Barron, Kerrod Garland, Amari Thomas, Bryce and Eason. All those guys could potentially be gone. Now, you have a lot of guys coming up. Tyree West, Tyree Weathersby, David Hobbs, all those Leos. There's a lot to like, but you could lose a lot on the defensive line, so that's why I would have there in that weakest. So, a really good question there, Roba, and I hope I answered it to your liking there. We'll continue on. Some more of your mailbag questions. We'll go to the bookmark section here at Locked On Vols. We will start with Matt. Which former Vol becomes the next professor? Of course, news came out on Monday that the sheriff, turning in his badge for a grade book, if you will. And he'll be an adjunct professor at the University of Tennessee in the School of Communications. I love that being Peyton Manning. The next former Vol to become a professor, I mean, it's got to be Josh Dobbs, right? Aeroscience. I don't know if he would teach that, at Tennessee, but he would teach some type of science class maybe when his NFL days are over. But I would go with Josh Dobbs. Kurt says, following up on your bowl predictions, in order for the Vols to win 10-plus games, Joe Milton's completion percentage needs to be... Good question. Joe Milton, what has held him back in years past has been his inaccuracies, his lack of completing passes. Last year, I believe it was a career high, and he had 65% completion percentage, or maybe 66, but remember, it was in limited time. I do think that he's taken steps in the right direction, just because it might not be that high this year, but of course, we'll have plenty more opportunities. He'll be throwing the football. I'll say, Tennessee can win double-digit games this year. Joe Milton's throwing 64, 65. You like for it to be better again, I hear you. But I think Tennessee could still get it done if Joe Milton's completing 65%. Now, if you're completing low 60s or in the 50s, no chance, in my opinion. No chance. I don't think Tennessee in this offense can overcome that much of an inaccurate quarterback. Good question, Kurt. We'll go to Brian. Do you see Joe Milton, Nico turning out to be more like Mac Jones, Bryce Young on 2020 Alabama, or more like Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence 2018 Clemson? A solid veteran paving the way for the youngster or super talented freshman that upserves a stable yet ineffective veteran. I like Jones and Young. Okay, so from your perspective, Brian, I do feel like this is more Mac Jones, Bryce Young situation. Because right now, personally, I mean, unless there's an injury or unless Joe Milton just struggles immensely, I don't see Nico taking that job for him this year. That's just kind of how I see it. So I don't feel like this is going to be a Bryant Lawrence situation for Clemson after 4 games in 2018. Now, is that to say that Nico will be Bryce Young? That's the hope. Is that to say that Joe Milton's going to go on and have a year like Mac Jones did in 2020 and be a first-round pick? That's the hope. But I do think of your two scenarios there, this would more closely resemble the Jones Young than the Bryant Lawrence. Good question there, Brian. Seth says, don't want to skip over this season, but are you worried about the drop-off with the new quarterback next year with Nico as a redshirt freshman or sophomore, or do you think he's ready to achieve what we all want? What Rivalry Thursday game are you looking forward to the most this season? Oh, yeah. I'll answer that Rivalry Thursday question here in a moment. Nico next year is going to go through growing pains. And the big thing about it is, for me, like, who returns on the offensive line? What's his wide receiver room look like? Those are big-time questions that we just don't have the answers to right now in terms of what his offense will look around him. I'm not saying he's going to go win the Heisman as a sophomore. I think that'd be pretty far-fetched in my opinion. But, he's got a lot of talent in the world. The way Tennessee's recruiting right now at some certain spots, the way Tennessee is developing, I don't think there'll be a major drop-off. But, especially on the line of scrimmage like we talked about, there's going to be some questions and some guys who got to step up and start. So I'm not too worried about it right now. Again, thinking about the 2023 season, but to your point, there's going to be a lot of guys that could leave the program. Now, because of that COVID year, a lot of guys could still, come back, and I don't want to get into every single situation with every player, but there could be a lot of guys who leave the program. Seth also wants to know about my favorite Rivalry Thursday game on the schedule. You guys know, here in East Tennessee, Rivalry Thursday, Pac-Man Productions. Super thrilled about that. It starts this week. Can't wait. And I'm lucky enough to be a part of that with Mark and Awesome Price. We got a lot of games I'm excited about. This Saturday, Bearden at West, our Saturday showcase game. I think that'll be a good one. On September the 7th, you got Alcoa at Greenville. That'll be a fun one. Later on, you got Farragut at Bearden on September 21st. That's always a good one, right? Central at Heritage should be a really good one later in the season, October the 19th. Those are some of those games that come to mind for me. Seth, I appreciate it. Got a couple more here. We'll go to Andrew. How does Tennessee get rid of the narrative of just being a system program? Simple answer, quick answer. As long as Josh Heupel's here, it never will. Okay. People will always say that in relation to Josh Heupel's offense. So as long as Josh Heupel is at Tennessee calling the plays, running his offense, there will always be people that say it's just a system offense or, the narrative out there that it didn't translate to the NFL and all that type of stuff. It sucks, but hey, go win games. Who cares, right? Let's go to Alan. Bold prediction, Tennessee wins the East, Milton earns a spot in New York, Tennessee keeps the number 1 ranked offense in back-to-back seasons, and UT finds itself in the college football playoff. Again, that is a perfect year. That's why you call it bold. Appreciate that, man. That would be a perfect year, no doubt. And then Jamel says, question for Tuesday, could there be a possibility at any point in time that Gerald Mincy gets a look at left guard? If the objective is to get the 5 best linemen on the field, regardless of position, could this be an option? Really good question, and that's where we'll wrap up today. You want to get the 5 best offensive linemen, but you can't just force it, right? There are certain guys who have versatility to their games, and then there are certain guys who don't really move around a lot. For the most part, Gerald Mincy is one of those guys where it's just like, hey, he's a tackle, and he's been a left tackle throughout his career. They're trying to put him a right tackle right now, and he's trying to adjust there. He's not a guard, in my opinion. I don't believe Gerald Mincy would be one of those guys. Now, a name that I could see sliding inside and getting a look, maybe a Dane Davis, because he's kind of repped it some in the past. I don't think J.J. Crawford's ever gotten work at guard at Tennessee, even in cross-training, so I wouldn't really say him. John Campbell's a left tackle. So I would say Dane Davis would be the best candidate to do what you're talking about. Gerald Mincy is a tackle, and he views himself as a left tackle, so getting him work on the right side right now is really kind of all your focus on. So good question. But some of those guys, it is easier to slide inside from outside than the inverse of that is taking a guard and trying to play tackle. So I see what you're saying there, but I don't think Gerald Mincy would be one of those guys. Fun show today. Loaded show. Appreciate all the interaction, guys, the dialogue here on Locked On Vols. Reacting to my bold takes, answering your mailbag questions, and of course reacting to Tennessee being ranked number 12 in the Associated Press poll. Got a question on the bottom scroller here on YouTube if you're watching. Will Tennessee finish higher or lower than number 12? If you remember, in the final AP poll last year, Tennessee finished at number 6. So will Tennessee finish higher or lower than number 12 at Locked On Vols and at _Cainer? As always, guys, appreciate you for tuning in, being a part of the show. We'll be back again tomorrow. Hopefully getting to talk to Josh Ward for a little Ward Wednesday. Give you some news and updates from Tennessee Fall Camp. Scrimmage number 2. That's coming up tomorrow as well. And no better place to cover it all than right here and Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.